All right, guys, let's get started here with the first topic out of the four. So we're going to be going through sort of, like I said, four of these bigger topics from Comic-Con. A couple of them from DC, although DC didn't really have a presence in Comic-Con. You know, they didn't have their own Hall H kind of panel because James Gunn is off and filming Superman right now. But during the events of, so they did have a smaller panel about the Batman, which, you know, I don't think too much was discussed there, revealed there that we didn't already know, though we will get to that in the next segment. But for this segment, I wanted to talk about the trailer for Creature Commandos, which dropped during the events during the weekend of San Diego Comic-Con 2024. Now, for those of you who have been following with the news of this new DCU, so now the DC Universe, not the DC Extended Universe, the reboot of the DC properties, Creature Commandos is going to be the first property released by James Gunn. Now, James Gunn, about a year or so, maybe a couple years ago, made this video where he talked about all the different projects that are going to be coming up with this new DCU and what he envisions and what he plans for moving forward. And, you know, one of the big things, obviously, was Superman Legacy, now retitled to Superman, which is currently filming and will be released next summer in July, which is really exciting. I'm so excited for that Superman film. It looks great so far with all the promo images and the suit and everything. Looks great. Looks awesome. But actually, the first project it was revealed that was going to come out from the DCU is actually Creature Commandos, which is interesting because Creature Commandos is actually an animated series. Now, you have your MCU, right? And you know, the MCU does some animated stuff here and there, but generally speaking, the animated projects in the MCU are not what I would call directly related to what's going on in the mainstream universe. Obviously, they can be, and I think that you'll have a show like Eyes of Wakanda that's coming out at some point soon that I think will be more related to the canon events. But, you know, shows like X-Men 97 and shows like What If are not essential viewing, let's say, for people who are following the universe. However, one of the things that James Gunn did when he drew out his universe is that not only was he also continuing that tradition of doing both shows and films, which I am a little bit mixed on, and maybe in the future we'll do a whole other video essay about why I think that, you know, that strategy is maybe backfiring a little bit. But regardless, you have your shows and your movies, but not only that, you have your animated shows as well. And these animated shows will very much be a part of the canon of the DCU, having the original voice actors, not even the original voice, the original actors who will be playing these characters in live action will be voicing them in animation and vice versa. So it'll basically just be another medium to watch stories, I guess, that maybe the budgets won't allow for, or I'm not entirely sure what the delineation is here. Maybe something that he wants to get out quicker will go into animation. Not entirely sure. So anyways, Creature Commandos is the first project up, and we got our first trailer. Now, Creature Commandos is, if you could put, you know, the most James Gunn of James Gunn projects, it is Creature Commandos. And I think the trailer addresses this, right? It's not a super long trailer, but it is very much in the vein of Suicide Squad and of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like, meet all these new creatures. You have your title cards. You have Frankenstein, the Bride of Frankenstein. You have G.I. Robot. You have Weasel, you know. All these disparate characters that are coming together. Obviously, Amanda Waller makes a comeback, and you have Rick Flag Sr. as well, which is really interesting. We'll get to Rick Flag in just a second, both the senior and the junior characters. But anyways, so yeah, we will, you know, we're seeing this group of heroes put together. What is interesting about this series is that if you didn't know any better, right? If you didn't know that the DCEU is rebooting into the DCU, you could have been forgiven if you had just seen The Suicide Squad into thinking that this was just some direct sequel to The Suicide Squad. In fact, I don't even know if it's not. You know, who even knows? Maybe The Suicide Squad is really just the first film in the DCU, as it turns out, when James Gunn, you know, when it's all said and done. Maybe it's The Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, Creature Commandos, and then Superman. I don't know, because it really does seem like James Gunn is just making his stuff, the stuff that he did when he was there at the old DC, as just part of canon in the DCU, which is a little, I'm not going to lie. On the one hand, I get it. It's James Gunn. He's beholden to stuff he did. He loves the stuff he did. I love the stuff that he did, Suicide Squad in 2021 and Peacemaker. But on the other hand, if you're going to wipe the slate clean, I feel like it's a lot better if you just wipe the slate clean, right? So it's a little odd and a little confusing to me that he just wants to cling to this continuity, because it really seems like in this trailer you have Amanda Waller, voiced by Viola Davis, who is, again, incredible. And then you have Rick Flag Sr., who, not Rick Flag Jr., so I guess, even if it wasn't connected to the continuity of the old DCEU, that's fine. Except we also got news, it was confirmed on Instagram, I believe, by Joel Kinnaman, who played Rick Flag in the original films, that version of Rick Flag will also be returning to the DCU in Peacemaker Season 2. So again, it really almost feels like James Gunn went, okay, so we're going to wipe the slate clean. No more DCEU, no more Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, no more Henry Cavill. But we're going to keep everything that I did. So the Suicide Squad is basically ground zero. It's basically the start of the DCU, which is, I don't know. Maybe if that were the case, I just wish he had come out and said it. He's like, guys, it's the Suicide Squad. It is Peacemaker minus that one Justice League scene, minus that one scene. And I mean, that's fine, because pretty much if you go from there, I think it works out. I think everything is fine. The fact that he didn't do that and he's insisting, well, no, we kind of want to do it where like some of the things are staying the same and some of the things are different, whatever, just muddies the water a little bit. Anyways, that's a long aside to talk about, to get around talking about the trailer. The trailer itself, I think, is fine. I think the animation style is cute. It is sort of in that vein of the Harley Quinn show that DC has been doing, which is fantastic. I think that's really fun. But that medium works for Harley Quinn because that show is so bombastic and over the top that it kind of makes sense. I feel like this medium, I'm not entirely sure if they're committed to this style of art. Maybe they'll do different ones for different shows, but it seems fine for what they're doing. The cast of characters, obviously the cast, itself is stacked, right? You have a lot of members from the Suicide Squad coming back, Steve Agee, Viola Davis, but you also have Frank Grillo, David Harbour, to name a couple others. So it's a fun cast. Sean Gunn playing Weasel and G.I. Robot, I believe, which is interesting. But I'm not going to lie. I've seen this trailer now, right? And I've seen everything else that James Gunn has done in the superhero movie vein. And I'm not going to lie. I'm a little nervous about this because how many more... I mean, James Gunn knows what he's good at, right? Which is great. He's great at making a certain type of film that at least I've seen in the superhero genre. What I'm less certain of is, is he just uncomfortable of breaking out of that mold? Because this is I watched this trailer and I go, this looks fine. It looks fun. How many times have I seen this before from James Gunn? The ragtag group of heroes that nobody else wanted and now has to go on a super secret, world-saving mission that will threaten their lives, and they bond together and then they save the day. I get it that that's sort of a more vague trope, so it's not just James Gunn who does these things, but Guardians of the Galaxy, the Suicide Squad, and now Creature Commandos. I'm just sitting here going, I appreciate that James Gunn knows what he's doing with these kinds of stories. He's made 3 Guardians films. He made the Suicide Squad, and he made Peacemaker, which was basically the same premise, right? A ragtag group of heroes who didn't like each other at first, and now is forced to kind of come together to save the world. Okay, I get it. I've seen it before, and not only that, but they make it so explicit in this trailer that this is the Suicide Squad, but with monsters. And I'm going, okay, interesting. So he's basically just remaking the Suicide Squad, but with monsters. So yeah, guys, I mean, if you can't tell, I watched the trailer, and nothing inherently about the trailer made me go, oh, this looks terrible or anything like that. Not at all. I think the trailer looks fine. It looks fun. It definitely looks like an enjoyable series. I'm sure it will have all the sensibilities of a James Gunn in there. And look, I have to add the caveat that nothing I've seen from James Gunn I've disliked. Obviously, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know the 3 Guardians films have not necessarily been my favorite of all time from the MCU, but I enjoy all 3 of them to varying degrees. I really enjoy the Suicide Squad. I really enjoy Peacemaker. And what gives me a little bit more pause about what I just said, so to play devil's advocate to my own point, is that Superman, the upcoming film, looks a little different than that. It actually, in fact, it seems very different. You have a big cast of characters for sure, but it doesn't look like he's doing his traditional bring together a group of heroes that don't have any business being together and seeing how they work. So that gives me some hope in that regard, at least. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I watched the Creature Commandos trailer and I went, yeah, I feel like I've seen this before from James Gunn. It didn't make me less excited about the project, but I think it had an opportunity to make me a little bit more excited, and I just don't think it delivered on that front. But let me know in the comments down below if you guys saw the trailer and you guys are just as excited, if not even more so, for Creature Commandos coming out in December 2024.